Well, good morning. Oh God, I have something in my eye. It is Monday, March 24th, and it is like 8 a.m. If you're new here, my name is Ari. I'm an aspiring author, and in my day job, I work as a climate scientist, and I'm currently working on my eco-fantasy novel titled Pretend the Earth Doesn't Call. If you didn't watch my last vlog, go ahead and watch that. There's a lot going on, and I have some updates for you. I managed to hit 50K and publish a scientific paper, and in this vlog, we're working on the publicity document for my published paper, and I need to peer review that scientific journal article. And I think we're at like 55 or 56K of Pretend the Earth Doesn't Call already. So it is Monday morning. I managed to write up that whole publicity document and send it in. I need to send a couple of experiment photos to the other publicity team, and then I need to like actually log on for work and get work started for the day. Also, hilariously, like I feel like this happens every single time, every time, without a doubt. I say this with absolutely no anecdotal evidence. Like I cannot think of an example prior to this, but like I post a video on like work-life balance as a scientist. I worked the whole weekend. Not even joking. Like I worked the whole weekend. I worked 9 to 5 the whole weekend. My code is working and it's beautiful, but I'm tired. So we went ahead, we sent in that publicity doc. I'm gonna go send a couple photos to that other publicity team, and then I'm gonna work, and then I need to do that peer review article. But let's just go to my desk. I just feel like the general vibe of my channel now is like girl who is tired. If that's not your vibe, I'm so sorry. That's just the energy that I'm bringing. I'm doing my best. We're just seeing how it goes. Okay, so Pretend the Earth Doesn't Call. I'm at 56,194 words. So I managed to write 2,000, 1,000. So I'm like bouncing between the 500 to 2,000 range. But we're at 21,713 words for the month, which I'm thrilled with. I have just been like really trying to prioritize writing every single day, whether that's a little bit in the morning, a little bit in the afternoon, whatever it is, just like try to write a little bit every day. That has been working for me. And I will say, I know I went into this draft being like, I'm gonna make a clean, it's gonna be a clean draft. What a joke. What a joke. I'm cursing so much in this. I'm just gonna like it's not clean. I'm gonna have to do some major heavy lifting and revision, but that's okay because I feel like this book is now more book shaped than ever, and that was really the goal for this draft anyway. So I'm okay with it, and I'm really connecting to the characters and I'm connecting to the flow. So we're really building up to the midpoint. I think I'm like 1 to 2 scenes away from the midpoint. So this vlog I think will be us hitting the midpoint and kind of like my thought and my journey through it. Also, I'll take you through the peer review process and try not to die emotionally. Physically, I'm fine. Okay, I am gonna go to work and I will check in with you guys later. Hello, it is Wednesday, March 26th. We've been writing, and I wanted to come on here and give you a little bit of a writing update. And I'm like dressed not in my usual sweatshirt self because I have an important meeting later today. So I thought I would zhuzh it up a little bit. Let me give you a little bit of a writing update. We are almost at 57,000 words for the draft of Pretend the Earth Doesn't Call. And it's feeling really good. I think we're almost at the midpoint. And I'm also, as I'm drafting this draft, I'm like kind of realizing the midpoint is this like really big event, but I'm not sure if it like needs to be the midpoint. I actually think the midpoint is happening in the scene that I'm writing now because I think I'm really feeling like the emotional turning point, like that midpoint twist that's happening for the character arc. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna do some like major restructuring to like change some plot events so it correlates a little bit more importantly with that midpoint like emotional arc twist. But the writing is going well. I've been consistently writing in the morning and writing in the evening, so I've been writing anywhere between like 500 to like 1,500 words a day. I'm not keeping up with that like 2,000 words a day pace that I was last week, but that's okay because that was like a little excessive. But the writing has been feeling really good, and I'm really hopeful that I can finish this draft by like the end of May, I want to say. Maybe even earlier if I try to push a little bit. I've almost written 25,000 words this month. I think we're actually going to wind up writing a little bit more because there's still like 5 days left in March. So who knows, like maybe we'll hit 30K this month. But that's all to say the word counts don't really matter that much. And this is me reminding you that the word counts don't really matter that much. I think why I'm so happy is that I've been pushing. Like the word counts could be 500 words, they could be 3,000 words. But what does feel really good is that I'm like implementing my daily writing practice again. And I've been having a really hard time staying consistent with writing, especially over the past several months. And it feels like I'm kind of reconnecting back to like my past writing self a little bit, where like I wrote every day for hours and it was the best and I loved it. And I'm not saying that I need to write every single day for hours because I don't think that that's necessarily realistic, but just making it part of a daily writing practice. The fact that I have that implemented no matter how many words I actually wind up writing. Like I wrote 500 words the other day and I was so happy with those words because I had sat down and I had made it part of my daily writing practice. And just making sure that I'm making the time for writing has been feeling really good regardless of the word count. Like I'm putting the time, I'm putting the effort in, and knowing that I'm doing what I have to do to meet that goal of like finishing this draft feels wonderful. So I think we're pushing through. This draft is a bit messier than I would like it to be, but it is book shaped. I think what I'm doing well in this draft that I haven't done in prior draft is there's really a sense of momentum. Like it feels book shaped and there's a sense of momentum to this book that I think I hadn't done in my zero draft and I hadn't done in my dialogue first draft. So even though I'm kind of technically calling this the first draft, it is technically my third iteration through the book. So I did a zero draft and then I did a dialogue first draft over the summer, and now I'm doing a real like first book shaped draft. And I'm really excited for what draft 2 will bring, because with every single iteration it has come closer and closer to the vision that I've had for the book, which is great. That's really what you want with every single iteration that you go through a project, right? You want it to more closely align with the vision that you had for the book. I still think there's lots of work to be done, but right now I think I just need to get lost in the sauce of writing this thing, get lost in the character dynamics and the relationships and the plot and everything that's happening. And I think so far I'm doing a really good job of doing that, and it feels great to show up every single day, especially after having had a period of time where I was a little bit too overwhelmed with other things to even think about it. So that's just a little bit of a writing update. I'm gonna update you guys again. I have quite a few things that I need to prepare. I have a couple of really important meetings today and then next week. And then the week after that, I'm actually going to Florida to see my family, which is really exciting. So there's lots of things coming up and I'm going to do my best to try to balance and incorporate my writing in where I can. And also kind of take you through the process of the peer review process when I get to it, because I am late. And that's okay, we're doing our best. All right, I'll check in with you guys later. Good morning, it is Tuesday, April 1st. I have some updates. Number 1, we wrote 28,500 words in April. Oh my God. Girl, what is with your brain? We wrote 28,500 words in March. So proud of that. We are at 63,000 words of Pretend the Earth Doesn't Call. And I peer reviewed that journal article and I submitted my review. Verdict is out. I recommended to reject the paper, which is really unfortunate. I always feel really bad recommending rejection because people spend so much time and effort and energy to think about the ideas, to get all the data, to conduct the analyses, to analyze the results, to write the paper up. Like, it is so hard to write a scientific paper, but some of the reasons why I recommended rejection is because the paper really did not interact with the literature in appropriate ways. Essentially, interacting with the literature means that you have up-to-date information based off of the data, based off of the scientific community that is publishing and researching in the area of interest that this paper is written in. And it can often happen when, you have somebody coming in from potentially a different field that doesn't understand like the nuance to the data and to like the details of a particular field. And I found a couple of areas where, in the paper it said like, oh, we don't know XYZ. and we do. And it was clear that they just like had not read those papers. And so I recommended that they read those papers. And then there were a couple of other things that were problematic in the analysis based off of like data handling and what data was excluded and what data was included. So I wrote up, I think it was like a 3-page review, and generally you split it into like major comments. So like major areas of concern, what they did well. So you do like major comments and then like line level details. So I wrote a pretty lengthy review and I submitted it on time. I feel bad because like I've gotten rejections before. They never feel good, but I tried really hard to make very concrete, actionable steps for the authors to take in order to make the paper stronger. So just intellectual integrity, like you need to make sure that the science is up to par, it's interacting with the literature properly, it's handling its data properly, it's analyzing its data properly and drawing conclusions properly. And I just didn't feel like this paper met those criteria, unfortunately, which doesn't mean that you like throw the paper out. Like generally you never throw the paper out. It just means, you know, you need to go back to the drawing board and reassess, reanalyze, come up with, you know, some different ideas, and often like different viewpoints for how to look at what you've done and how to make edits and reanalyze and rewrite. I'm glad that I have that off my plate. And that's just my little update. All right, I will check in with you guys later. Hello. It has been a really long time since I filmed. So today is April 24th. So let me give you a little bit of an update. So I think the last time I filmed was like at the end of March. It is now April 24th. So it's been 3 weeks since I think I filmed and I've written. And there's a reason for that, let me explain, but also let me preface it with saying I'm so sorry that I am so inconsistent with YouTube. I am doing my best. Life has just been really crazy and it's really hard to balance everything. So March was an amazing month. I wrote so much in March. Let me actually pull up my Scrivener. Yeah, so in March I wrote 30,000 words. Like I wrote a shit ton. So March was just like amazing writing wise. I think I really just like locked in for 2 weeks and made a ton of progress. And then at the very beginning of April, I had 2 really big important things come up for my professional career, and I had to kind of drop everything and just like really focus and hone in on that. So that was kind of like the first week of March. And then the second week of March, I actually went and I traveled to Florida. My parents are retired down there. So I was there for the second week of April and just kind of like helping them out and enjoying my time on the beach. So no writing got done for the first 2 weeks of April. And then frankly, after just the crazy work and professional stuff and kind of like running around, because my parents are a bit older, I don't want them to do like lifting or cooking or cleaning. So I was kind of just helping them do all of those things. And it was so nice to be able to do that. But the week that I got home, I was kind of like, I need to rot a little bit. And so I did a little bit of reading, no writing, did a lot of video game playing and a lot of just like chilling. And now I feel like I'm finally feeling a little bit better, a little bit like I can get back into the normal flow of things. So I'm going to try to get back into writing a little bit every single night because I've really missed it. I've really missed my story. And it's really hard to juggle professional things, personal things with writing. And also something that I'm really trying to do is to be way more active. We recently, actually, very exciting update. I've been working remote for almost like 2 years, and I've been working remote in an area in Connecticut where you really kind of like need a car. But we've been a 1-car household for the entirety that I've been working remote. Where we live, I can't like walk anywhere. Like it's not a suburb, there's no sidewalks. We're surrounded by kind of major roads that I wouldn't really feel comfortable crossing, especially with dogs if I wanted to take my dogs anywhere. And actually, it just happened to work out that my brother sold me his old car. And this car is like a 2009 car I got my license in. Like it's a 16-year-old car. The AC smells like gas. It's a little jittery, but it's a car. And so I've been going to the gym every morning, and me and the dogs have been going for hikes every afternoon. And it's just been like so nice to have that freedom and to not worry about like if I want to go grab lunch somewhere, like I can just go. And it's really just made like working remote so much nicer to like actually have a car. I just feel really happy about that because not only do I have that flexibility, but it's also letting me be way more active. Like I'm able to go to the gym and not have to worry about my husband's schedule, and I'm able to, like spend more time outdoors with the dogs, which is also just like amazing. So those are just some life updates. So this week I'm going to really do my best to try to get back into the swing of things, get back into the flow of the story, try to make a little bit of progress for the month of April, because the month isn't over yet. I still have like a week left and I can make some progress in that time, and to try to ramp up for May, see what we can do by May, because I would really like to finish this draft by the end of May. So this draft at the moment is sitting at 63,000 words, which is pretty solid. I do think I'm gonna finish this draft at around like 100,000 words. So I have probably like around 40,000 words left. And if I continue at the pace that I had been going in March, which is an excessive pace, I'm not saying that that is necessarily realistic, but I think if I push, like I might be able to finish this draft by the end of May. And that kind of goes along with my anticipated trajectory that I had said back in December and January when I had initially started. I was like, it's probably going to take me about like 6 months to draft this book. And that didn't even take into account all of the crazy like professional stuff that was happening also behind the scenes. So I'm actually thrilled that I'm like hitting a timeline that I had anticipated, because let me tell you, I am horrible at estimating how long things are actually going to take me. So I think this is actually a great sign. But I missed you guys. It feels really nice to be filming again. And I'm so excited for the progress that we're going to make. So stay tuned. I'm going to try to film a little bit later tonight and update you tomorrow morning to let you know how the progress is feeling, how it feels like it's going. And yeah, fingers crossed. I hope I'm not rusty after like taking a 3-week break. I mean, I will be, but we'll get back on there. We'll get back on that horse. Hello. It's been a really long time. I am so sorry. Let me just give you a little bit of an update. Let me preface this with saying consistency on YouTube, not my strong suit. I have way too much going on to be uploading weekly. So if you're here for consistent videos, I'm so sorry. Not the girl for you. I think I have clips somewhere in here that like tells you what happened to my life in April. But basically, I had applied for some jobs and I had gotten a couple interviews, and I was really excited about them, and I prepped and I spent all this time. I got 2 different interviews at 2 different companies. One of the companies, it was like 4 interviews in, and then another company I had 5 interviews, which like I was interviewing for really technical positions, so it like makes sense that it's like so many rounds of interviews, but still like that's like 45 to an hour long minute interviews. Like they're really long interviews. I had spent all this time prepping, you know, like you're taking all this time to prep and to sit and like talk to people, but I was just kind of really stressed out. So in April, I barely wrote. I think I wrote like 4,000 words, and I was like really focused on acing these interviews. Then I went to Florida to spend some time with my family, and then kind of like the last 2 weeks of April were a bit of a wash, just like mental health wise. I had done all this work and prepped for all these interviews, and I think in April I just had this like overwhelming feeling of I really needed to like simplify. I think I had way too much on my plate between prepping for interviews, trying to do my job. I have 2 papers that I'm trying to write, one for my PhD, one for my postdoc, and then writing the book, and then keeping up with this YouTube channel. Is just like way too much on my plate, and I got way too overloaded. And I am the type of person where like I push and I push until like I can't anymore. And I think the end of April, I really just like crashed after having spent honestly a few months like really struggling with my mental health. And I think like I work completely remote, and so the isolation is also quite challenging for me. I am now trying to implement some things that I can like go to a co-working space once a week, so it's a little bit easier on me. That being said, you didn't come here for my whole spiel. You came here to hear about writing. So let me tell you, we are about to finish the draft of Pretend the Earth Doesn't Call. We are at 89,051 words. So we're almost at 90K. I think this manuscript is probably going to be about an 100K manuscript, which means that I started in December, I think like mid-December. It took me about 5.5 months to write this draft, and I wrote it from like start all the way to finish. And I will be honest, I wrote chronologically, yes. Act 3 I think is way more sparse than any of the other acts, but I think I'm kind of okay with it because Act 1 and 3 are the acts that I think I just have an easier time with. Act 2 is the act that I really struggle with, and I think Act 2 in this draft is like the most beefed out act 2 that I've ever written out of like any of the manuscripts that I've ever written. So I'm really proud of the work that I've done to kind of get it there. That being said, I'm going to try to take you through to the end of May, so like the next week and change, and we're gonna like finish this draft. I'm so close. We're on chapter 40 right now. I think this book is gonna be like 45 chapters, between 45 and 50 chapters, depending on like how much I think we need to go. And it's been like a really challenging year, I would say, and it's been really challenging because I think I've had way too many different priorities, and I think I know that I'm the type of person where I need to just have like one priority, like one primary priority and one secondary priority. And I think I mean to say this to anybody who like bites off a little bit more than they can chew and gets really excited and wants to do all of the things. Like, you're only one person, and time is our most precious and like limited resource. Time and energy, I should say. I think I'm having a hard time understanding that it's really hard to do one thing and to do one thing well, and it's practically impossible to do many things and to do them well. And so something that I'm realizing is, in order to be good at something, whether that be my science, whether that be writing, whether that be YouTube, you know, you kind of have to devote the time. You need to be passionate enough about it, but it has to be this kind of like utmost priority. And I think I was shooting myself in the foot because I was trying to balance doing all of these things and pressuring myself to do them well. So I think what I'm trying to say is, take a little bit of the pressure off. If you feel like you have a lot of things that you're trying to juggle and you feel like you're not doing any of them well, just take a step back and try to simplify. Like, how can you simplify? How can you make it a little bit easier on yourself mentally? And, you know, maybe this advice actually, you're very, very good at doing many things and doing them well. But if you're like me and you have a really hard time prioritizing things and feeling like you're doing things well, like, just simplify and try to focus on one thing. And so I have been finding that like the times where I can like focus on my work the most are the times where like writing kind of has to fall by the wayside, or the times where I can focus on writing most are the times where, you know, I can't prioritize YouTube. All that's to say, I think part of the reason I've been able to finish this draft in 6 months, which like isn't short, but I wrote like 100K in 6 months, which I think is actually very good, especially considering let me see. So here, I'll give you the breakdowns for what I wrote. So in December, we wrote about 15,000 words. In January, we wrote 18,000 words. In February, I wrote 4,000 words. In March, I wrote 30,000 words. In April, I didn't even write 4,000 words. I wrote 1,300 words in all of April. And then right now in May, I'm at 25,000 words. And I think I'm probably going to wind up hitting 30K. So were basically 2 months in the past 6 months where I wrote a grand total of 5,000 words. And so a lot of this draft was written in 4 months, particularly because of life things, because of like mental health and stress stuff. I think I just had this realization, like, for my mental health, like, I'm really hard on myself and I'm very much a perfectionist, and it's also a really scary thing to like put yourself on the internet. Like, it's a very scary thing to be perceived and to be seen, and also wanting to put good content out there so that is representative of like who I am online. All of those things just kind of get in your head and get in your way. And so I think I just had to like take a step back. Like, I think I got into this YouTube channel for the community, and I think I got into this YouTube channel for friends and for visibility. But I also got into all of it because of writing, and like uploading weekly takes the hourly equivalent of like 2 days of writing for me, and that is not a sacrifice that I'm willing to make, because I want to be a good writer. Like, that's why I'm here. I want to be a good writer. I want to write a book that I'm like so abundantly proud of. and I want to write a book that gets published and is on bookshelves. And I know that kind of part is like out of my control, but right now I'm kind of trying to like put my head down and focus on just writing a book that I'm like so proud to have written. That was just like a really long way of saying I'm still here, I'm still writing, I'm almost done with the draft. Hi everyone, just popping on here for a little bit of an update. We are at 98,000 words of our manuscript. I am not feeling so well. I am taking the day off, watching Buffy, my favorite. Yeah, we're at 98,000 words, and like I think I have 2 scenes left to write, like that's it. And so we're almost there. It really feels huge. Like it took me 6 months to write this draft. I think I might finish it today or tomorrow, and I'm so excited. Okay, I'm gonna sit on the couch and draft, and wish me luck. I finished the first draft of Pretend the Earth Doesn't Call. It is sitting at 99,511 words, so it is a hefty first draft, but it took 6 months, and I think the most proud of myself for, yes, writing the full manuscript, but I'm also so proud of myself for doing it in the amount of time that I said that I would. Like, you're breathing so hard. I had told myself that I wanted to finish it by the end of May, and it is May 29th right now, and I have finished the book. How does it feel? It feels great. It has been a really challenging 6 months, I'm not gonna lie, but I pushed through and I prioritized getting the draft done, and it is done. I will say it is extremely book shaped, and I am so proud of myself for really pushing through and trying to not underwrite anything, because in pretty much every single one of my manuscripts prior, I am a severe underwriter, and I really wanted to try to focus on not underwriting this manuscript. And so I took a lot of time trying to make sure that especially Act 2 was like very beefy and thought out and had a lot of intricacy, and it's basically an 100,000 word manuscript, which to me signifies that I think I did all right in the not underwriting front, which is really great. I think there was a small part of me, like when I finished it, that was really happy and excited and elated, but I think there was also this really big part of me that still knew and still knows right now that there's still a ton of work that needs to be done. So right now this draft feels a little bit too mature to call it a draft 1, but I think it's like a draft 1.5, draft 2. I'm fine calling it a draft 2. I actually finished the draft while I was video chatting with a bunch of AuthorTube folks, which was like so fun and so nice to finish it with a bunch of other writers, and they were so happy. And as I had finished it, they had asked me like, oh my God, like how do you feel? And I had said, I'm so happy, I'm so thrilled, but I know that this is just the beginning. And I think part of it is because I'm not taking a break. And I normally would give the advice, take a break. You don't need to rush into revisions right away, but actually I really want to do that because there's things that are fresh in my mind from writing the end that I think would be really helpful perspective to go back and start reading from the beginning, to start thinking about threads and how the story starts and how it ends, and to try to mirror the ending and the beginning. And there's just a lot of things that are really fresh in my mind that I think would be really helpful to like be able to go into the draft knowing and thinking about. And so I don't want to take a break. I'm going to go ahead, read through, make some big notes, start making some changes. When I want to take a break is when I really feel like I need the mental space, like I need the energy. But honestly, finishing the draft gave me so much momentum and excitement to finish and to continue and to get the book into good enough shape to try to get it to beta readers, because that is really what I want to try to do before the end of 2025, is to get beta reader feedback. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna print out my draft, I'm gonna read it through, I'm gonna take notes, and start coming up with a revision plan. There's a lot of things that need to change. I'm so thrilled. It is like so book shaped, and I'm honestly, I think the most proud of myself for Act 2 of this manuscript, because I think Act 3 I kind of rushed through a little bit, but Act 2 is notoriously the act that I have the most trouble with. And I really took my time with it, which I'm really proud of. There were 2 months kind of in the drafting process where I really didn't write a lot. So I know if I was pushing myself, like I could write an 100K 8K manuscript in like 4 months, but it took 6 months and I am more than happy. Life is life. Things take longer than you think it will, always. But I'm just like so thrilled that the manuscript is done. And I'm so excited, like every single day it gets closer to a finished project. Listen, it is nowhere near done. Like I cannot put this book in front of somebody and have it make a ton of sense. And like the characterization is something that I think I really want to work on, and a lot of the character motivations. But at the moment, I'm gonna bask in the fact that I wrote 100,000 words in 6 months. I'm gonna maybe take like a day off, and then I'm gonna go ahead and get into reading. And I'm like kind of nervous. Like I remember taking so much time to write the prologue in chapter 1, and yeah, I'm like a little nervous of what I'm gonna think as I reread it, because there's always like, I don't think I'm a bad writer by any means, but I think my taste and my writing style aren't aligned yet. There's always going to be a taste gap that doesn't yet meet your skill level, and I think I'm definitely still in that phase. And so a lot of what I really want to do is work on getting this book up to my taste and my skill level. We finished the draft. I'm gonna celebrate, I just don't know how yet. But I just want to say thank you all for sticking around. I know I'm not incredibly consistent. I have a crazy busy schedule between work and writing and doing science on the side and care of my family and all of that stuff. And I just want to say thank you so much for being patient with me, and also for the like incredible messages that I get on Instagram. You know, a couple of you were checking in on me, seeing how I was doing, and I really appreciate it. You guys are all so kind, and I love the community that we've made here, and I'm gonna try my best to be a little bit more consistent. But I'm not gonna lie, there is something unbelievably efficient about like locking in and going into gremlin mode and just like churning words out every day. And I feel like I'm not good at balancing churning the writing and vlogging at the same time. So we're gonna have to figure out that balance. But I love you guys, and I will see you next time.